Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We've got a really special one today. This is going to be a great video because we're going to do it a little differently than we usually do. Now, this is Bally's Wizard pinball machine, also known as one of their cool ones, right? And it's not ours. This belongs to a customer who is one of our viewers. And basically, he bought this with the intention of fixing it up and getting it going. So, he has brought us a note, right? So, let's read over the note. It'll tell you what he's done. And then we're going to do this one different than we usually do them. Usually, I go through and I mess with every little thing in the game. But this gentleman has already done that. But it's not quite doing what it's supposed to do. So, we're going to try to troubleshoot it instead of cleaning all of the switches, cleaning all the stepper units, blah, 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 because I think all that's already been done. So let's see. Bally's fantastic Wizard pinball machine. Bought this at an auction. Cool. Cleaned and waxed the playfield. Cool. Now I will say, if you look at it, it is pretty clean. There is some worn looking areas, but you can't really clean it too much better than that because what's going to happen is the paint's going to start coming off. So this is a machine that's seen some wear, seen some play. But to me, that doesn't bother me at all. Some people would say, oh, you need to repaint it all and blah, blah, blah. You don't have to do that. It's perfectly fine to just play it the way it is, So it's got a little wear on it. Most notably around the pop bumpers. It's pretty severe there. But to fix that, you'd have to take the pop bumper off. You'd have to see if you can get it cleaner than that, where it's you take off all the loose paint, basically, if there's any still loosely adhered. Draw the lines back in, repaint it, then clear coat it, and it's a lot of work. So cleaned and waxed the playfield. We're going to leave it like that. New rubbers. We're going to leave those. They all look pretty good. Yeah, I don't see any problems. You'll see that they get some dirt on them. That is completely normal. That's just how pinball machines are. A lot of times people are seeing ones that somebody just put new rubber rings on, but after you play a few games on them, they're going to start getting dirty like that. You can clean that off, by the way, with wax. So if you take a paper towel with a little bit of whatever wax you clean the playfield with, you can clean the rubber rings with it too, believe it or not. And they will clean right up. New rubber rings and replace the bad bulbs. Okay, cleaned and adjusted where needed all switches. So what he's saying there is, I think this is someone that watches our channel, right? So he cleaned all the switches and he adjusted, but he only adjusted where needed. That's what I like to do. I don't like going through and adjusting every little switch because you're going to get the timing screwed up if you do that. But if there's one that obviously needs adjusted, go ahead. Clean the stepper units. Clean the score motor. Now, the step units cause all kinds of problems on these games. So you've got to make sure those are good. So we may look at those and see if they step up and down cleanly. Clean the score motor. Cleaned and adjusted the score wheels. Well, thank the Lord, because that means I don't have to. Clear coated the box to stop the paint flaking. So he's talking about he put a, again, this machine has seen some play, So he put a clear coat over it. What do they call it? Like a shellac. Like a varnish, what do they call it? He polyurethaned it. You can see it pretty good up here. See the gloss? You don't usually see that on a older machine. And so by doing that, what he did was he got it where it's basically not going to keep flaking off. It's in worn condition. So by doing that, he's basically frozen it in time how it is, hopefully, so it won't get any worse. So that's cool. Replaced the rusted height adjusters and painted the legs. So the legs, they have little feet on them, and they get all rusty and screwed up, and then the thing won't sit straight, and it's all screwed up. So he has put new ones on there. I don't know where he got those leg levelers. Joey and I were marveling at them because they're big old leg levelers. Look at them things. But they're the same 3/8 thread. So, but they look good. And painted the legs. Fired her up and everything worked with minor adjustments. Boom! Just like that. That's how you do it, people. But he played it for a couple of months, then it just stopped resetting. Tried to figure it out using the schematic. Couldn't quite get it. Replaced the coin door switches. Are they wired properly? And broke 2 Jones plugs. Okay. Let's see in the back. Yeah, it doesn't have a back door, so makes it easy for me. Now, normally, these have a little metal channel here and then a metal door on the back that you take off. And there's a lock up here that goes up in here. But you don't really have to have it. Some of this comes down to personal preference. If it's in your house, it's going to be louder like that. So you might not like how loud it is without a back door. Also, it'll sound just a little bit differently because that metal back door kind of resonates and stuff. If you put a wooden back door on it, that sounds differently too because the wood resonates differently. So let's spot test. What do you think? Let's spot test. This is the player up unit. If I can get back there where I can move it. Here we go. So let's see. Is it going to work? I got to tell you, that worked just fine. So we're just checking behind them. Yep. So those have been rebuilt. Or they were working fine before. He says he rebuilt them. Or cleaned them, he said. So like this is position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4. That's all that does. And then whenever you hit the other coil pulls in, it will reset it. So what I like to do is go up to just position 1 and see if it'll reset. If it will, then the spring is working fine. This is turning fine. Everything's good, right? So I'm going to take him at his word that he cleaned the stuff pretty good, and we'll look through it and try to track down the specific problems that we're running into and go from there. So the first thing I need to do is plug her up and see where it's stopping in the reset circuit. This will be a good way to learn because this is a really common problem. Lots of pinball machines, you turn them in and they just keep trying to, they won't reset, right? So the first thing, we need to plug in the Jones plugs. Those should be down here in the bottom. Wham, there they are. He said he broke 2 of them. It must be different ones down on the bottom or something. Those look fine. Now when you go to put these on, they're different lengths. So you got to make sure that you got the longest one and the longest. Next longest one there. Next longest one there. Okay, so the machine is plugged back together. So let me plug it into the wall and we'll see if she'll reset. Alright, so we've still got the glass on it. It's plugged in. Let's see if she'll do anything. Uh-oh, the power switch seems like it's already on. Boy, she's crazy dead. Let me see if I can find the keys. Alright, I had the coin door unplugged. Now whenever I hit it, at least the lights come on. Okay, so he's trying to figure out if he's got the coin switches wired correctly. What do we have here? I guess we'll check that first, but I'm gonna just hit start first. Here's the start button. Now you'll notice that the back box None of the lights are on, so that's not a good sign. And the everything's on 0, so it's already kind of reset. So let's see if it does anything when I hit start. Nothing. We got nothing. It says we've got 7 credits, so something ain't doing what it's supposed to do. It looks like we've got, this is a, see how that coil on the chime is kind of burnt looking too? Sometimes that means that there was like a point thing locked on, something on the playfield. So maybe something that scores 100 points was locked on, and so that was constantly going, nah, that's why it's all burnt up. All right, let me look at the fuses and check those. We should have, you know, we don't have any lights anywhere except on the coin door. So maybe we've got a hold relay or something screwing up. All right, so I got out the multimeter. All of the fuses are fine. And I just checked voltage on both ends of each fuse, and it matches what it should be. So 50 volts on those two and 6 volts on these two. All that seemed fine. So basically we've got voltage, but nothing looks like it's doing anything except for the coin door. So it could be that this is one of the ones that you press the left flipper button to get it to do something. Let's see if that's true. There we go. All right. Yeah, I should have known that. Now, if you would have put a coin in it to start up the game, that would have done it too. All right. So she's at least turning on. So now let's try to start the game. See what we get. Nothing. All right, well, sometimes when I get one that's not doing much, I give the score motor a little go. Now, see how that turned and then stopped? There is a home position for the score motor. And so if you turn it, get it going, it will turn back to home and stop, right? Sometimes that gets things going. Oh, did you hear that? Something clicked when I did that. So let's see if we can figure out what that is. Okay, so I'm going to hit start. We still have, it's actually 17 credits. I heard something click. Let's see if I can see if anything's happening. There we go. The credit relay. So the credit relay is pulling in. It is actually locked in right now. Okay. The noise you're hearing is probably this lock relay. That is on the entire time that the game is on. So they get a little noisy and they get a little burn up. So it's supposed to be on. That's what we turned on with the left flipper button. But now we have the credit relay stuck on because I hit the start button. So I should be able to fake that again. Let me turn the score motor. Okay, so the score motor went back to home. It's now open. Now you don't have, I'm going to explain all this on the schematics here in a minute, but basically see how that's pulling in and then nothing happens? I'm going to do it again. Start button is turning on the credit relay and then nothing happens. So it has closed. It has closed 3 switches and it's opened 1 switch. Now, if I wasn't trying to film this, I'd be real tempted to take a little file or something and just push on those sets of switches, because those switches must not be making contact. You're probably going to have a problem there somewhere, right? So maybe I would push this set together a little bit more just to see if that makes anything happen, or push this set together a little bit more, see if that makes anything happen, or this one. But we see our first issue. You hit the start button, the credit relay pulls in, but nothing happens. So this is why you need a copy of the schematics. Now look how long these things are. That's like 5 feet. Right? And so it's completely confusing as crap if you haven't messed with it. But I'm gonna show you how to look at it. if you need these schematics, on certain companies like these Bally schematics, you can find a copy of them on the internet. So you can look at them for free. But if you want a nice paper copy like this, like it originally came with, this is the original copy out of the machine, you can buy them from the Pinball resource. So go to pbresource.com and you can buy schematics and parts and all kinds of stuff from them. Let me find our credit relay. And I'll show you what's going on. Here we go. There is the credit relay. Okay. Now, when we turned the game on, what happened was I flipped that switch. That gave power to the transformer because now both lines are connected to the AC transformer. So you've got AC power going into the transformer. Now, the transformer didn't do a freaking thing. You saw that, right? Nothing came on. Why would that be? It's because of this. The lights are basically what didn't come on. This says lock relay. So the transformer creates voltages. This side of the playfield, or of the schematic, are the coils. And so it's like 50 volts. 50 volts. And then there's a separate winding on this side that is 6 volts. That is the light voltage, right? So you saw, well, I told you at least, that I checked the fuses to make sure they were all right, okay? And they were. So power was getting to right here, but the next thing in the chain is the lock relay. So we needed to turn on the lock relay. So how in the world do we do that? Well, on the schematics, it is shown right here. So one side of the lock relay is connected to this line. That as long as the delay relay is not open, it's connected to the neutral, or I'm sorry, the 50 volt line right here, right? So as long as the delay relay switch, a switch on the delay relay is closed, that will be connected. Now when they draw it with a line through it like that, that means that it's normally closed. So in the way that this is drawn, the position that this schematic is drawn in, normally, that delay relay is closed. So that side of the lock relay, boop, boop, if we can find it, is always connected to that. And then the other side of the lock relay, for it to get to the common, the neutral, right, one of these 3 switches has to close. So if any of these 3 switches close, that will send power to the lock relay. The lock relay will close and turn on the power to the lights. So that's what we saw happen. Now keep in mind, the power to the coils was never turned off. You just couldn't tell because the lamps were turned off. And then you might say, well, wait a minute, the coin door bulbs were on. That's because they're wired slightly differently. They just have a little leg here where it runs over to the fuse and does not have anything to do with the lock relays. So one side's connected to the neutral, and the other side is connected through this fuse to 6 volts. So they're always on if the transformer's on. All right? So, to turn on our lock relay, you can do it one of 3 ways. The coin relay can turn it on. So that's what I was saying. If you would have dropped a quarter through it, it would have turned it on too. If you drop a coin through the coin door, it'll trip one of the coin switches and turn on the coin relay, which would turn on the lock relay, as among other things. And then the left flipper button. Now, why do they have it like that? It's just a holdover from back in the day, a different world than we live in right now. There used to be a time and there used to be a place where they had rows and rows of pinball machines in these buildings. And the guy would come in and they'd all be turned off. And they would just sit there, not turned on until you dropped a quarter in them, or you hit the left flipper button as you walk by them to turn them on that day or whatever. It's just how they were. It's just an old holdover. Doesn't make too much sense in somebody's house, but I always leave it like that because it's charming, you know. So the left flipper button does it, but it's only on certain games. All right. Okay, and then this third switch is the lock relay itself can turn on the lock relay. Well, why? How in the world? That doesn't make any sense. It's because if you drop a quarter in, the coin relay is only going to be on for a little while, and then it'll open back up again, which would cause the lock relay to turn back off. Or if you hit the left flipper button, as soon as you let go of it, it's not connected anymore, which would cause the lock relay to turn off. So what they do is, if you hit the left flipper button, it turns on the lock relay, which then closes a switch on itself and holds itself on. So it'll stay on the entire time. Now what would make it turn off? You're not going to be able to turn off that switch on the lock relay. It's stuck on. It's literally locked on. Lock relay. So what would turn it off? Well, that's why they have this delay relay down here. If that switch were to open up, it would turn off the lock relay. And then the only way to turn the lock relay back on would be to drop a quarter through it or to hit the left flipper button again. Right? But that's going to cause other things to happen, like the game to be over and you to lose your money. Okay, so all of that to say, how did we get the credit relay to turn on? So that's the one that we saw turn on and then nothing happened. Well, there are several ways to make that happen. This part gets confusing. You're not confused yet, hopefully. So the credit relay, one side of it is connected through the delay relay, just like the lock relay is. And then the game over relay can turn it on. The ball count unit 0 switch can turn it on. Oh, wait a minute, I'm doing this wrong. That's what turns on. No, I'm all right. The player up unit 0, the coin unit, blah, 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 blah. So one of these 4 has to be closed. And then you have to close all these too, right? So the reset relay can't be in. And the credit unit can't be at 0. See how it's open? So that switch cannot be open or power won't go through there. And then whenever you hit the credit button, it connects all the power through. So as long as the second coin chute is wired properly, maybe, maybe not. As long as the third coin chute is wired properly. So they do that so you can't start a game while you're dropping a coin through. You know, it might make it where you can double earn or something. But a line comes through here. Through here. This is the score motor. So as long as the score motor is at its home position, it's not turning. As long as the reset relay is not resetting. And as long as you're not down to 0 credits on the credit unit, when you hit the button, you will send power all the way up to here, right? And then one of these 4 things has to be true for that to turn on. The game over relay has to be tripped. That would let it happen. But let's say you're at ball 2 in the middle of the game. Well, the game over relay is not tripped. The ball count unit would have to be at 0. You know. Now, what would that mean? That means that you have just started the game and haven't played the first ball yet. Right? The player up unit would have to be at 0, home position. Or the coin unit limit switch can't be opened. So it's suffice to say, all of this is working because it's turning on the credit relay, right? So we're getting that far, but what is supposed to happen next? So there are 3 switches that close on the credit relay. You saw that. One of the switches right here. Now remember, the way we're getting that to work is we're just hitting the start button, credit button, right? And then that's coming on. And then you saw what happened. It stayed on. The reason it stayed on is because of one of the switches on the credit relay. So once you've pressed that button, this is powered, and then I let go of the button, so it's no longer powered that way. But that's because the credit relay pulled in, and now this switch is holding it on. It's connected over here to a connector on the third coin chute adjustment. Now this is, anytime you see a circle, that's the score motor. So at the home position, which is how this is all drawn, is at the home position, there is a switch that's normally connected. And then there's another one down here, also on the score motor. There's a switch that's normally connected. Now, why do they do it this way? It's because as soon as the score motor starts, some of this is going to start turning, right? and they've got it set up on different cams. You saw how there were different little discs on the score motor, so that these do it at different times, right? So as long as the score motor is not turning, that credit relay is going to stay on. Okay, so that's one of the switches. Now, one of the other switches, remember there were 3 that closed, is right here. Normally open switch on the credit relay. If it closes, it's going to, at some point, as the score motor turns, right, it is going to, at some point, send a pulse, connect power to the credit unit reset solenoid. So that's how you remove a credit off of the credit unit in the back box. So it says 17. If this all goes as planned, that coil will pull in, and then it will say 16. Right? So that's the second switch. Now the third switch is right here. It is connected also to the third coin chute adjustment, but on a different cam. See how that one came over here? This one comes here, which means that it will open at a slightly different time than this one, right? And so it's getting power through here, through here, through here, and wham! Now, if that coin relay pulls in, this closes. Power should connect and turn on the coin relay. That's not happening. So in your opinion, if you're trying to learn, what is our problem? Our problem could be that that switch is dirty. Our problem could be that the coin relay is screwed up, but that's not usual. Our problem could be that that switch is dirty. Can't be this switch, because this switch is being used to hold on the credit relay. All right, so that switch is messed up, or there's a broken wire. Now, what color? That says blue and white. Interesting. And up here it is gray going to the coin relay. Okay, well, not coin relay, credit relay. It's real easy to get them confused. Same story though, right? The switch on the credit relay. Our credit relay is turning on, the coin relay is not. Now once the credit relay turns on this coin relay, the coin relay is going to hold itself on through the same wiring, right? Through a switch on itself. It's going to go back, blah, 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 right? So a blue wire, see how it says blue-W, is running to the switch on the credit relay that we are interested in, and it is also running to a switch on the third coin chute adjustment that we are interested in at position 5 of the third coin chute adjustment. So if we go back and look, this is the credit relay. This is the one that turns on for us. And there are the 3 switches that are supposed to close. And there is the blue and white wire. So it's that middle set of switches. Now, there's 50 volts running through that thing, so you don't really want to close it with your hand. But what we could do, maybe, let's turn it back on. Okay, so see, it pulled in. Here's the coin relay. It did not pull in. See the blue and white wire there too? All right. So maybe I can. Need something to push on it with. All right, so it is not that switch. It's not that switch. Okay, so from there, it went to a switch on the score motor. You see it, right? It's on there somewhere. All right, so let's see if we can find that one. All right, so it's switch 8E. So starting from the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And E, I believe, is the top one. Oh, what'd I do to film a video? Yeah, that's what we wanted to see. So what you heard was it resetting. It now says ball and play 1. 1 to 4 can play. It says 1. It says 1 up. Everything was already back to 0. Dong, dong, dong. All right, so what is the problem? Following along, did you catch what the problem was? The problem is in the home position, that switch should be closed, and it's kind of closed. It's just slightly off. Well, I'm going to get a cinematography award for this video. It always blurs. So that switch, and I'm going to press on it again, but it shouldn't do anything. Okay, yep, there you go. See how that's bent up? Okay, see the little spacer there? See how when I push this down, it can move? It shouldn't be like that. It should be down touching the bottom. Now, because of that, it's not touching the blade under it, the little short blade right there. Those should be connected. So what happens is this turns around, and when it turns around, this little bump pushes all of these up. And when it does, it raises that up to where it's no longer connected to the small one. But the problem is, it's already bent up. It should be sticking down, right? When it raises these, each one of these should push the one above it up. But see how this doesn't? It's because that's not quite touching it. So I need to rebend that. Now, how did that happen? Well, it's on the top in here. It's easy to bend those. Those are the ones that if you put something in here, it might hit it and bend it up a little bit, right? Our lock coil is making noise again. Okay, so I'll mess with that a little bit, and then we'll try to start it, and then we'll see if there's anything else going on. All right, folks. So I have set up his machine to run the gauntlet. I changed all of the score rails to 1, which means they have to reset all the way back around to 0. I've got all 4 of the 100,000 lights on. And then I even flipped over all 4 of the flags on the playfield. I don't know if those reset at the beginning of the game, but they probably do. And I adjusted the switch. So we're going to hit start. We're at 17 credits. And we're going to see if it can reset every score reel or if we need to work on some score reels. Well, it got there. It took a little while. That was kind of weird, actually. I don't know that I've ever seen it where they do that. It ran for a while and then stopped, and then ran a little bit longer and then stopped and kicked the ball out. But can't fix what ain't broke. It seems to be all right. Now we may notice something else whenever we play it a little bit. But let's test play it and see if everything seems to be working properly. All right, so we're going to make a list of stuff that can use a little help. It reset when it slammed whenever I shut the door or the slam switch turned the game off. So that part's working properly. That is the slowest score motor I've ever seen. I wonder if there's something wrong with it. Usually it's much faster than that, but again, it doesn't really have to be fast. Okay, the ball's getting stuck there. The deal with that is it's a little bit too flat. It'd play a little bit better if it was stepped up a little bit. So I might adjust his back legs out a little bit, but you know, I don't want to make it where the customer doesn't enjoy it. You know, a lot of people, they like it more flat or more steep, you know, and it's something you can just adjust. Flippers work. It did flip one of the targets. See the target up there? It flipped another target. Woo! Yeah, we're sitting a little crooked right now. Another target flipped. Okay, it flipped them all back that time. Ooh, that counted against me. Ball 4. Oh. Watch the flags. Ooh, barely. All right. Well, the thing, you know, everything's working. I think his whole problem was one switch. Interesting. Okay, so you know, we haven't worked on it much, so maybe I'll see if I can adjust a few things to make it play a little bit better. I think I'll try it with the legs a little bit higher, and then if the gentleman doesn't like that, he can put them back down, but it'll play a lot better with just a little more slope on it, I think. So we'll try that, and I'm going to research if that score motor is supposed to run that slow. So how would you check that out? Well, we had a Bally Captain Fantastic, which was like the next game or two after this one, not too long ago, and we can see how fast the score motor reset on it. Captain Fantastic. You're going to get stereo runs here in a minute. Watch how fast it counts down. Watch. Look, it knocked them back down. Here we go with this crap again. So that's how fast. I don't know if that extra ball. Man, this guy needs to stop. Guy, all he does is talk. How do I stop this? If the that's how fast it should do it on a like a double bonus. Didn't. Ours is like half that speed. So I'm gonna look at the part number of the motor to see if it's just moving slow or if it's the wrong motor. All right, so here is the motor. It seems to be the correct part. It would be hard to put the wrong part on there. The only thing is you could put a 50 hertz motor on it, which would be used in Europe in an American machine, and it makes it go faster, I believe. And this is a 60 hertz because it's an American. Okay, so this is the stator, and that's the rotor going through it. The way this works is whenever it does its thing, it pulls this in. And there is a spring back there, and centrifugal force pushes it back out, right? So what I've done is oiled this bearing and that bearing. I've seen problems with that before where it doesn't want to move all that easily, right? So I put some 3-in-1 20 weight oil on it. See how it says SAE 20? They make a red and white, which is the more common one that you see. That's 10 weight. This is a little bit thicker. It's more for motors. Engineered for quarter horsepower motors or larger. I've got this stuff on my website if you don't have it near you, but it's inexpensive. It's just a regular product. Also, I've been using Zoom spout oil lately because Radio TV Phono Nut swears by it, and he knows his stuff. So if he says it's good, that's good. So I'm going to put that up on the website too. So just by doing that, it's moving a lot faster. I think it just needed oiled. Probably never been oiled. See, it's still spinning. So you can also take this gearbox apart, and there's more things to oil and all that in there, but it's a big job. So that's a minor job, the part I just did. All right, so I put a little bit of a slope on it, and we oiled that motor. Now, let's see if she resets better. I didn't reset all of them, I've just got the one now, but should be much quicker. There you go. That's how it's supposed to be. So, that should be better. That will probably make the gameplay a little better too, because you won't have to wait as long for the bonus to count down. But it's not just that. Sometimes if you score, for instance, 3,000 points when lit, if you hit that and that motor's turning super slow, it's going to go dang, 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 and the whole time that's happening, nothing else is going to score on the playfield. So by that, so you're going to hit it and be down here hitting other stuff, and the freaking score motor's still turning, trying to score that 3,000 points. So that should make it actually play better. I tried to level just by eye the feet a little bit better too. So let's see if it plays a little better with just a little bit more slope on it. Now, I didn't go crazy. I just basically, I took the front ones were up a little bit, so I took them down to where they were about as far down as they'll go. And then the back ones I took out about, I don't know, half an inch. I didn't get a flip. Yeah. So the bonus is counting down much faster. Whoop. Let me put a little oil on the shooter rod while I still have it here. Oh, I don't still have it here. I'll put some oil on the shooter rod here in a minute. That speed is correct. That's how fast it's supposed to count down. Oh. Now, you may notice it sounds a little different than you're used to. One, we don't have the glass on the playfield, which makes them noisy. Okay. Two, there's no back door on it. I showed you that, right? So you're hearing different things. So now instead of hearing the chime, you're hearing click, 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 click. You can hear every little click of the score motors and stuff, especially when you hit the spinner shot. If you listen, you can hear the 10-point chime go on a couple times on that, but that thing is spinning so fast and the score reel is spinning so fast that the chime doesn't have time to drop all the way down and then back up. And there's no fixing that on an EM of this vintage. It's just going to do that. If I really zip it through there, we'll see if we can get a good example of that. Okay. Heck yeah. So that's cool. All right, so we got it. So the customer didn't want us to do a whole ton of stuff to it. You know, he's trying to not spend a fortune on this thing, and I don't blame him. And plus, he did all the work himself. He just had that one little thing he was trying to figure out. So we got that figured out for him, and hopefully this video will help him figure out, you know, what the problem was and how to track that down if it ever happens again, something similar or on a different machine. And you know, there's other things you could do. Like I said, you could repaint parts of the playfield, which is a pretty big job. And this one's pretty, you know, in areas it's pretty worn. So, you know, you would just have to decide if it's worth the trouble for that. The flipper, this one flipper's buzzing a little bit. That's not the end of the world. Do you know what that'll do if the flipper keeps buzzing? Not a thing. It'll play just fine like that. If it doesn't bother you, just keep on playing it. A lot of people, they want theirs to be perfect and, you know, good as new, better than new. And some people, it doesn't bother them. On a lot of these, they'll have like a humming issue or something. It doesn't bother me at all if they hum. But a lot of people, it drives them crazy. And I'm not better than them. They're not better than me. It's just people have different levels of how they want things, right? So I think the thing's playing good. I think we're going to play it a little bit longer, make sure everything's cool. We're going to call the customer, make sure there wasn't anything else he wanted us to look at. And this one was a fairly easy one. Oil on the motor and the switch 8E on the score motor was misgapped. Basically, the top switch was bent a little bit. Was the main problem. You know, it takes a little while to track it down. But once you find it, that's what's going on. Now, if you enjoyed this Bally Wizard video, guess what? I mentioned earlier, you know this is from the movie Tommy, right? You know that, right? I mean, everybody knows that, right? That deaf, dumb, and blind kid sure plays a mean pinball. Okay? Look at the back glass. This is one of the best back glasses ever. It's probably illegal. That's why I can't comment. Just what are they doing? What are they doing? Is this Christensen? What's this? What was the gentleman's name that did this? It's not Christensen. It's the guy that did Old Chicago, I believe. Well, now I got to look it up real quick. I was correct. Christensen. I got it right. I always get the name, not the art style, but the name confused with a guy named Christian Marche. I think it's Marche. Who did some of the coolest stuff too. So these are like two of the big time awesome artists. So this gentleman also did Old Chicago, like I mentioned, and he did Elton John's Captain Fantastic. Now, if you would like to see Captain Fantastic, there it is. Go check it out. We did it as well. We will see you on the next video. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to check out my brother Donnie. Up in the top right hand corner is a link to his channel, but we'll see you over on the Elton John video, and you can see what another great Bally pinball machine looks like.